Chess fans, we will look at 4 positions to help you practice your calculation skills. First position, white played rook e1. What's the winning move for black? Okay, we want to look at forcing moves. First we want to look at checks. So what about this rook check? Does it lead us anywhere? Not really, because the rook just takes. What about queen check? Also doesn't lead us anywhere. But it seems to be a motive that the king is having this back rank weakness, and this rook seems key to the defense. So how could we distract this rook? Maybe like this, so that the rook is somehow blocked out. But I think white can simply take this rook. So what else? How about queen f2? Well, problem is the rook can give a check, and we would have to exchange pieces like this, and white gets some play and some attack with these 3 pieces, and we didn't really have a chance to check the opponent's king. So, but the idea of the queen attacking the rook is maybe not a bad one. What other squares can the queen attack the rook from? Here we have a similar problem with rook e1, rook e8 check. We need to find something more. How about queen e3? Queen e3 is blocking the rook from going to give this e8 check, and it performs the same function as the move before. If the rook takes the queen, we give a mate. Okay, so, but what if the rook just moves to the side? Well, it turns out in this position, queen e3 also has another threat. It's attacking the knight together with the rook. And we will win a piece. So the winning move is indeed queen e3, because it has the dual threat of taking this rook and taking this knight. And the point is that if rook takes, we have this mate. So this is how we use the motive of back rank weakness. Okay, if you didn't see this, what can you do? Well, you can just calculate a few forcing moves and get some ideas, for example, the back rank idea. And then you can see, okay, but what's the problem with this? Okay, it's the rook defending. And then you can kind of work your way from there. How can I stop this rook from defending? Maybe you want to attack the rook, but then you calculate a few variations and see that the rook can come up here. And then you see, okay, how can I attack the rook and make sure he doesn't come to e8? And you kind of make the variation work by playing around like this. All right, let's have a look at the next position. In this position, white has just played e takes d6, and it's black to move. Find the winning move for black. Okay, there is not any checks in this position, so we cannot learn about the position by starting to calculate some variations that start with check. There are some takes. Queen can take this rook, but the rook simply retakes, and there's not much that we can do. This knight is not hanging. This rook is not hanging. We don't really reach anything. Now there's a pin on the queen, but there's no way to attack the pin piece. Okay, are there any other takes? There is bishop takes, forcing the queen to take, but white doesn't have to do this. White has this threat of attacking the queen. Okay, so what else? Can we do any threats? So this king seems to be a little bit tucked in. So if I could take with my bishop or my queen here, I would give mate, because, or at least I would, the rook head would have to go in between. So is there anything that I can do to take advantage of this? If the bishop moves here, what if knight takes? Then I might have some tactics this way, but white simply wins material nonetheless. Okay, so this whole bishop idea is not helping us much. But what about the queen moving to e3, threatening to take here? So if black doesn't do anything, we could give a check, and if the rook goes in between, we give a mate here on the back rank. So is that a strong move? I mean, after all, rook can simply take this queen. So let's have a look. After f takes e, the white queen is attacked. And if, say, the knight moved away, well, that's not a good square for the knight. If the knight moved away, we can take that queen, and we are material up, we are rook up. So the queen has to move away. Let's say the queen moves somewhere here, and then I can take the knight. And in this position, I'm in exchange down, but I have this pawn. And the point is the queen cannot take because it's protected by the bishop. And the pawn is threatening to take the rook. And this rook is also threatening to come down here. So what can white do? White could move the queen to protect the important squares. But then I simply have rook e1, threatening mate. So either rook or queen has to take. And in this position, I end up material up. Okay, so after f takes, is there anything better that white can do? Can the queen move somewhere to create some threat? So what if the queen moves up here and plans to do some counterplay against the g6 pawn? If I take, the rook is attacked, but if I play rook takes g6, the point is that after takes, queen takes, white has a perpetual and draws. So can I do anything against that with black? If the rook takes, well, the king can just move to the side. And in this position there's no further check, and black still has all the threats against the king and the promotion. And so that's the winning move. In this position, queen e3, threatening queen takes f3, and after rook takes, we win a rook back and have this double attack and win a piece. And there's not much that white can do. Again, if the queen moves here, or if the queen moves down, we simply take, and no matter where the rook goes, we have rook to e1, and this bishop just does a good job of protecting the square and the pawn here. Okay, let's have a look at the next position. Black to move, white just played rook b1. Okay, is the queen lost here? What about queen a3? Yes, the queen saves itself and is not lost. What about the material? White has an advantage in development, 4 pieces against 4 pieces, 2 rooks against 2 rooks, and 5 pawns. So black has 7 pawns. So white is having a lead in development and exchanged some pawns for this. So what can black do? If black can somehow shut down white's development, exchange some pieces, black would be better. So what can black do here? Let's say we just leave the queen where it is. Can we do some threat? Okay, the winning move is knight takes, and the point is that after knight takes, I can give a check on the king and win both of the rooks. And so the knight cannot really take, and if rook takes queen, I have bishop takes c3 with a double attack on the king and the queen. And if queen takes, in this position here, black's development, or white's development advantage is a little bit less, and black is 2 pawns up. So white still has compensation, but black is a little bit better in this position now. Okay, let's have a look at the last position. Black has just played rook takes d1, and it's white to move. And let's have a look at a few candidate moves immediately. What about queen takes? Well, then we have mate. Okay, so that's black's threat. But why can the rook not take? Well, because then we have bishop takes. And in this position, what can white do? Maybe not so much. Okay, so is there anything better than that white can do? Let's have a look at a few checks. What about this check here? Well, I suppose the queen simply takes, or the bishop takes, and after rook takes, black is a piece up. And what about this check? The point is that black cannot take here because of the pin, so only move is king to h8. And what do we have here? Well, we have another check, and if rook takes, we can actually take this rook, because if bishop takes, queen takes, we have check and mate. So that's an interesting motive here. If the rook ever moves up, we can give this check and mate. So is this the winning move, or can black play something else? Black could take with the queen, and if rook d1, bishop takes, queen takes, black has queen takes f2 check, and a similar motive, mate. So knight h6, check, king h8, knight takes f7 doesn't really work, but we have discovered this motive of the rook giving this mate on the back rank if the rook moves up. Can we do anything with this? Okay, what if the rook takes here? In this position, we just want to calculate lines. So what if the rook takes here? Well, the problem is that this pawn can take the knight, but that doesn't work because checkmate. So the bishop can take maybe this piece. And what can we do here? Well, it turns out queen takes, and then now knight f6 check attacks the queen and the king. So if king moves to g8, we win the queen. And if rook takes, we have again this motive with mate. And so that's the winning move. Knight to h6, check. And in this position, rook takes, exchanging here, and mate. So that's why after knight h6 check, black cannot take here. But what else can black do? Black can move the queen out of the way, but then we can simply play knight g4, and the game continues with motives around the back rank weakness on the black king. Okay, I hope you could practice your calculation a little bit in this video. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you next time.